While modern gardeners reach for chemical solutions at the first sign of trouble, the Amish quietly cultivate thriving gardens using centuries-old wisdom. Their approach isn't just about avoiding pesticides, it's a profound philosophy that views the garden as a living community, where balance, not battle, creates abundance. Their methods offer timeless lessons for today's gardeners seeking sustainability. Welcome back to the video. My name is Buck Whitaker. We talked about this, right? Soil foundation of resilience. Unlike conventional farmers who might spread fresh manure liberally, the Amish understand that timing and preparation are everything. They age manure carefully, allowing harmful pathogens to break down while preserving beneficial nutrients. Cow, horse, and chicken manures are valued differently, each bringing unique benefits to the soil community. The Amish gardener knows exactly which type to apply for specific crops, knowledge passed down through generations of careful observation. The ritual of soil preparation reveals the Amish commitment to doing things right, not quickly. Watch an Amish gardener till soil by hand, and you'll witness a meditation in motion. There's no rumbling, gas-powered tiller disrupting the peace, just the rhythmic movement of the fork or spade turning earth with deliberate care. This gentle approach preserves soil structure and avoids disturbing the complex network of fungal threads that connect plant roots in an invisible web of communication and nutrient exchange. When you till too roughly or too often, you tear apart the soil's living fabric, explains one Amish gardener. The earth needs gentle hands to reveal its full potential. This careful cultivation creates soil that naturally deters pests and diseases in multiple ways. First, plants grown in nutrient-rich soil develop stronger cell walls and natural chemical defenses, making them less appealing targets. Second, diverse soil microbes compete with pathogenic organisms, preventing them from gaining a foothold. Third, healthy soil creates plants with natural immune systems robust enough to fight off most invaders without human intervention. The Amish recognize soil building as a multi-year commitment. They don't expect depleted soil to transform overnight, instead viewing improvement as a gradual journey. Each season brings incremental changes, slightly darker color, more earthworms, greater water retention, signs they celebrate as victories in their patient revolution. These gardeners have also developed an intimate knowledge of what healthy soil looks like, feels like, even smells like. They test soil by squeezing it to assess moisture and texture, observing how quickly organic matter decomposes, faster in healthy soil, and counting earthworms, nature's soil engineers. When an Amish gardener crumbles soil in their palm and inhales its rich, earthy aroma, they're reading a story most of us have forgotten how to interpret. The Amish garden doesn't showcase uniform rows of a single variety, but rather a rich tapestry of diversity. A living quilt of resilience where vulnerability in one plant is balanced by strength in another. This approach creates what scientists now call dynamic stability, the ability of a system to withstand stress through interconnected relationships. I once asked an Amish farmer why he planted several tomato varieties side by side rather than focusing on just the most productive one. His weather-worn face crinkled into a smile. The same reason you wouldn't want all your children to be exactly alike, he explained. Each one brings something different to the family table. This wisdom extends to choosing plants that naturally repel insects through their very presence. Aromatic herbs like rosemary and sage release volatile oils that confuse and deter many common garden pests. The Amish integrate these throughout their gardens rather than isolating them in separate herb sections. The strong scent of marigolds repels nematodes that might otherwise damage root crops. Nasturtiums produce compounds that many insects find repellent, creating a natural barrier against invaders. Some varieties are chosen specifically for their textural defenses. Cucumber varieties with tiny spines or hairy leaves make it difficult for soft-bodied pests to move across the plant surface. Certain squash varieties develop tough rinds that resist penetration by squash vine, e.g. borers. Cabbage family plants with a heavier waxy coating on their leaves deter cabbage worms from laying eggs. The Amish gardener also recognizes that some sacrifices are necessary. Certain plants are included knowing they'll attract pests, intentionally drawing insects away from more valuable crops. Rather than viewing this as failure, they see it as part of the garden's balance. The sacrificial plants become an early warning system, alerting the gardener to potential problems before they spread. This deep relationship with plant varieties creates gardens with built-in immune systems. While conventional gardens might collapse under pest pressure without chemical intervention, Amish gardens demonstrate remarkable resilience, bending but rarely breaking when challenged by the inevitable difficulties of each growing season. The seed selection process continues year after year, with each season's survivors contributing to an ever-strengthening genetic library of resilience, a living heritage that connects past, present, and future through the humble miracle of seeds. With this living foundation beneath our feet, we turn to selecting plants that thrive in harmony with nature's design. Selecting resilient plants. While the rest of us pore over glossy seed catalogs filled with the latest hybrids promising uniform perfection, the Amish connect with something far more profound, a living library of plant wisdom passed down through generations. In the depth of winter, as snow blankets their farms in hushed silence, Amish families gather around worn wooden tables, carefully sorting through seeds that tell their family stories. These aren't just seeds. They're time capsules carrying genetic memories of survival through drought, disease, and countless challenges. The Amish approach to selecting these natural defenders reveals a relationship with plants that most modern gardeners have forgotten is possible. My grandmother's Brandywine tomatoes have weathered every blight that swept through this valley. An Amish gardener told me, his weathered hands cradling seeds with the gentleness one might reserve for holding a newborn. While our English neighbors lost entire crops, these plants stood strong, not because we sprayed them with anything, but because they remember how to fight their own battles. The seed-saving rituals themselves reflect a sacred commitment to continuity. Seeds aren't casually collected, but carefully selected from plants that have demonstrated exceptional vigor, productivity, and resistance to local challenges. I watched as an Amish mother taught her daughter to identify the strongest bean plants, marking them with small strips of cloth early in the season to ensure their seeds would carry forward only the most resilient traits. Red Pontiac potatoes thrive in many Amish gardens because their naturally high alkaloid content deters Colorado potato beetles without chemical intervention. Brandywine tomatoes develop thick skins that resist cracking and natural compounds that deter hornworms. These aren't accidents, but the result of generations of careful selection. What makes this approach revolutionary in its simplicity is how these plants adapt to hyper-local conditions over time. The same tomato variety grown for decades in one Amish community develops subtly different traits than its cousin grown 20 miles away, each responding to unique soil microbiomes, weather patterns, and pest pressures. Beyond individual plant resilience, the Amish cultivate gardens where diversity itself becomes a defense strategy. Walking through an Amish garden reveals a tapestry where dozens of varieties grow in harmonious relationship, creating what scientists now call dynamic stability, a system resilient precisely because it contains so many different elements. The same pest rarely attacks everything, explained an Amish farmer as we wandered through his abundant garden. When you plant just one thing, you're inviting disaster. When you plant many things, you're inviting balance. Some plants earn their place in this living tapestry specifically for their protective qualities. Certain bean varieties release compounds through their roots that repel nematodes. Aromatic herbs like rosemary and thyme emit volatile oils that mask the scent of nearby vegetables, confusing insects searching for their preferred hosts. The textural defenses of cucumbers with tiny spines or fuzzy-leaved squash varieties create physical barriers against soft-bodied pests. I observed one elderly Amish gardener running her hands lightly over her plants each morning, a practice she called awakening their defenses. Modern science has since confirmed what she intuitively understood, that gentle touch stress actually triggers plants to produce protective compounds that strengthen their natural immunity. Perhaps most fascinating is how Amish gardeners balance vulnerability and resistance within their plant communities. They intentionally include some varieties knowing they'll attract certain pests, not as failures but as essential parts of the garden's early warning system. These sacrificial plants draw insects away from more valuable crops while alerting the gardener to potential problems before they spread. These carefully chosen plants now need proper spacing to breathe and thrive, creating a garden where pests struggle to establish themselves. Strategic garden management. In the quiet dawn light, as dew still clings to leaf and stem, an Amish gardener moves with deliberate grace between rows of vegetables. Unlike many modern gardeners who crowd plants together hoping for maximum yield, the Amish understand that abundance paradoxically begins with restraint. Their gardens might initially appear sparse to untrained eyes, but this intentional spacing reveals a profound wisdom about plant health that chemical-dependent gardening has forgotten. Plants are like people. An elderly Amish woman told me as she methodically thinned young carrot seedlings, seemingly removing more than she kept. They need room to breathe, to stretch toward the sun, to become fully themselves. Her hands, weathered by decades of garden work, moved with certainty even as I winced at what seemed like ruthless culling. By mid-season, I understood. Where my own crowded garden struggled with powdery mildew and slug damage, her carefully spaced plants stood robust and vibrant. The wisdom was simple yet revolutionary. Proper spacing creates airflow that naturally prevents fungal diseases, makes it harder for pests to travel between plants, and reduces competition for nutrients and light. This strategic approach extends to their early morning watering ritual, a practice that transforms a basic necessity into powerful pest prevention. Arriving in their gardens at first light, Amish families water close to soil level, avoiding the leaves whenever possible. This timing isn't merely traditional, it's tactical genius. Morning watering ensures plants enter the heat of the day with adequate moisture, but leaves have ample time to dry before evening. Wet foliage at night creates the perfect environment for fungal diseases and attracts slugs and snails searching for moisture. By simply shifting this essential task to daybreak, the Amish eliminate conditions that welcome common garden enemies. The rhythm of this practice has another subtle benefit. It puts the gardener in intimate daily contact with every plant, creating opportunities for early intervention. I watched as an Amish farmer paused during his watering, gently turning a cucumber leaf to reveal the first signs of aphids. Rather than reaching for spray, he simply pinched off the affected area and adjusted his plant supports to improve airflow around the vulnerable plant. The best medicine is the shadow of the gardener, he explained, cast regularly upon every corner of the garden. This vigilant presence naturally extends to garden cleanliness, not the sterile tidiness of suburban landscapes, but a thoughtful attentiveness to plant health. Fallen leaves and diseased plant parts don't remain in Amish gardens to become breeding grounds for next season's problems. They're promptly removed and composted far from growing areas, creating a cycle where even challenges become future nourishment when properly transformed. Weeding transcends mere aesthetics in these gardens to become essential pest control. Weeds aren't just competitors for nutrients, they're potential hosts for insects and diseases that later migrate to crops. When an Amish gardener kneels to remove a cluster of lambsquarters or purslane, they're not just tidying up, they're eliminating pest habitats that threaten garden harmony. Perhaps the most profound aspect of Amish garden management reveals itself over years rather than seasons, their masterful implementation of crop rotation. Unlike modern farms where the same crops grow in the same fields year after year, requiring ever-increasing chemical interventions, Amish gardens dance across their landscape in a choreographed sequence designed to break pest cycles and nourish the soil. The land remembers what was planted before, explained one Amish farmer, as he showed me his carefully mapped rotation plan. Plant tomatoes in the same spot twice, and you're inviting trouble. Move them and you confuse the pests while giving the soil new life. This isn't haphazard movement, but thoughtful orchestration. Heavy feeders like corn follow nitrogen-fixing beans that enriched the soil the previous season. Brassicas like cabbage and kale never return to the same bed until 4 years have passed, breaking the life cycle of pests that specialize in these crops. Root vegetables follow leafy greens, taking advantage of different soil layers and nutrient needs. The results of these rotation sequences become evident over time. Soil structure improves as different root systems explore various depths. Pest populations decline when their preferred hosts keep moving targets. The need for intervention diminishes as the garden itself becomes increasingly self-regulating. One Amish garden I visited had maintained the same rotation sequence for over 30 years, resulting in extraordinary soil fertility and pest resistance without a single chemical application. The patience of this approach, investing in future seasons rather than just the current harvest, reveals the true heart of Amish garden wisdom. They garden not just for today's table, but for grandchildren not yet born who will inherit both the land and the knowledge of how to work in harmony with it. With these fundamentals in place, we discover perhaps the most fascinating aspect of Amish gardens: the strategic partnerships between plants. The art of companion planting. When you first walk through an Amish garden, what strikes you isn't just what's growing, but how everything grows together, a living harmony that feels orchestrated by some deeper wisdom. Unlike modern gardens with their regimented rows of single crops, the Amish create botanical communities where plants support each other in an intricate dance of mutual protection and enhancement. This isn't gardening as we know it. It's a relationship with the natural world that transforms growing food into something approaching poetry. Plants were never meant to grow alone. An Amish farmer told me as we walked between beds where vegetables, herbs, and flowers intermingled in what appeared to be beautiful chaos. His weathered hand swept across the landscape. In nature, everything grows together. We've just forgotten how to listen to what plants tell each other. This philosophy of companion planting isn't merely aesthetic, it's a sophisticated pest management strategy born from generations of careful observation. The bright orange and yellow marigolds that border many Amish gardens aren't just for show. Their roots release compounds that repel nematodes, microscopic worms that damage the roots of many vegetables. The strong scent of marigold flowers confuses whiteflies and other pests searching for their preferred host plants. I watched an Amish grandmother plant marigold seedlings alongside her tomatoes with reverent care, explaining these are the garden's faithful guardians. They stand watch so other plants can flourish. Her intuitive understanding of plant relationships has since been validated by science, which has identified specific compounds in marigold roots toxic to certain soil pests. Nearby, vibrant nasturtiums sprawled between squash plants, their circular leaves and bright flowers creating a striking contrast. "These are sacrifices we gladly make," she explained, noticing my admiration. "The nasturtiums draw aphids and squash bugs to themselves, keeping them away from our food crops." "Some plants speak to each other in whispers we cannot hear," an Amish elder told me as he carefully planted chives between his carrot rows. The pungent aroma of chives, barely detectable to human senses, works as a powerful deterrent to carrot flies that might otherwise devastate the crop. These same chives, when planted near roses, prevent black spot and repel aphids, a dual purpose that exemplifies the Amish understanding of plants as multidimensional helpers. Throughout these living tapestries, calendulas shine like miniature suns, their bright orange and yellow blooms beckoning to beneficial insects from across the garden. These aren't just beautiful additions, but strategic invitations to garden allies. I stood mesmerized as ladybugs, lacewings, and hoverflies, nature's pest control specialists, visited these flowers, fueling themselves on nectar before patrolling nearby plants for aphids and other pests. The Amish gardener watches these relationships unfold with the patience of someone who understands that true harmony cannot be rushed. "We don't just plant a garden," one farmer explained as we observed the intricate ecosystem he'd fostered. "We create communities where each member contributes to the greater good. The strong protect the vulnerable. The vulnerable provide their own gifts in return." This community-building approach creates gardens with remarkable resilience. When disease or pests strike one plant, they rarely spread throughout the entire garden as they might in monoculture plantings. The diversity and strategic placement create natural barriers and confusion for potential invaders. Perhaps most impressive is how the Amish refine these combinations through generations of observation. They don't follow rigid formulas, but instead cultivate an intimate knowledge of which partnerships thrive in their specific conditions. Morning light in clay soil might call for different companions than afternoon sun on sandy loam. These nuances are captured not in books but in the lived experience of families working with the land across decades. A young Amish boy I met summarized their approach with unexpected eloquence as he helped his grandfather plant onions between cabbage rows. Plants are like people. Some make each other stronger just by being nearby. In this simple wisdom lies the heart of companion planting, relationships that transform individual vulnerability into collective strength. While these plant partnerships work quietly in the background, the Amish arsenal of natural remedies stands ready to address specific challenges. The Amish pest control solutions. Even in the most harmonious garden, challenges inevitably arise. When unwelcome visitors threaten to disturb the balance, the Amish don't reach for synthetic chemicals with skull and crossbones warnings. Instead, they open their arsenal of natural solutions, remedies crafted from elements so familiar you might find them in your own kitchen pantry. These aren't harsh interventions that devastate the garden's community, but gentle corrections that target problems while honoring the garden's interconnected web of life. I remember watching an Amish mother carefully pressing neem seeds in a small wooden press, the golden oil dripping slowly into a glass jar beneath. Her hands moved with the confidence of someone performing a ritual passed through generations. "This comes from the neem tree," she explained, the sunlight catching in the amber liquid. "God's gift for garden protection. This precious oil, derived from seeds of the neem tree, serves as the cornerstone of many Amish pest management strategies. They dilute it carefully, typically 1 tablespoon in a gallon of water with a drop of mild soap to help it cling to leaves. Then apply it during the cooler hours of early morning or evening when beneficial insects are less active. The neem doesn't kill on contact but works more subtly, disrupting feeding and reproduction cycles of pests while leaving most beneficial insects untouched." In another garden, I witnessed an elderly Amish gardener creating his renowned garlic spray, crushing cloves in a wooden mortar. The pungent aroma filled the air as he explained how this potent mixture deters beetles, aphids, and even some fungal diseases. "The strongest medicine often has the strongest smell," he chuckled, adding hot water to extract the natural compounds before straining and diluting the liquid for application. His recipe was simple yet effective. 10 cloves of garlic steeped overnight in water, strained, and mixed with a tablespoon of mild soap. The mixture sprayed on plant surfaces creates an environment inhospitable to many common pests. They simply cannot tolerate the sulfur compounds released by the garlic. For persistent invaders, the Amish arsenal includes solutions with more heat, quite literally. I watched in fascination as an Amish grandmother carefully handled hot peppers, wearing gloves to protect her skin while preparing a spray that would send beetles fleeing from her cucumber vines. "Respect the fire in the pepper," she cautioned. "It burns the pests, but it can burn you too." Her chili pepper spray, made by steeping crushed hot peppers in water overnight, then adding a touch of soap, creates a powerful deterrent that insects avoid on contact. She applied it with careful precision, avoiding flowering plants where pollinators might visit, demonstrating the thoughtful selectivity that characterizes the Amish approach. Perhaps the most humble yet effective solution in their arsenal is simple soap spray. Pure Castile soap diluted in water creates a solution that dissolves the protective outer coating of soft-bodied insects like aphids and mealybugs. I watched an Amish father teaching his son to apply this mixture with meticulous attention, careful to reach the undersides of leaves where pests often hide. "The timing matters as much as the remedy," he explained quietly. "We don't spray at the first sign of trouble, nor do we wait until plants are overwhelmed. We watch, we learn, and we choose the moment when intervention will do the most good with the least harm. This watchfulness extends to their ingenious trapping methods. Shallow dishes of vinegar mixed with sugar draw fruit flies away from ripening berries. Banana peels placed strategically near plants attract and trap slugs overnight. Each solution elegantly simple, each precisely targeted to specific challenges. Diatomaceous earth, A fine powder made from fossilized aquatic organisms becomes a protective barrier around vulnerable plants, its microscopic sharp edges harmless to humans but fatal to insects with exoskeletons that crawl across it. An Amish gardener showed me how he applied it in a narrow band around his cabbage plants after morning dew had dried, but before the day's heat intensified. What strikes me most about the Amish arsenal isn't just its effectiveness, but its profound relationship with timing and observation. These aren't treatments applied by calendar or clock, but responses to the garden's own communications. A yellow leaf here, a chewed stem there, each a signal requiring specific attention at the perfect moment. To complete the circle of garden harmony, we must welcome and support the beneficial insects that serve as nature's own pest control force. Garden protectors, beneficial insects. In the golden light of late afternoon, an Amish garden reveals its secret defenders, an army so silent yet so powerful that most modern gardeners never fully appreciate their tireless work. I watched in wonder as a tiny ladybug no larger than my fingernail systematically hunted across the underside of a kale leaf, devouring aphids with remarkable efficiency. One ladybug can consume over 5,000 aphids in its lifetime, the Amish gardener whispered, his eyes crinkling with appreciation, their tiny miracles with spotted wings. Unlike gardeners who view insects universally as enemies, the Amish recognize these beneficial predators as essential partners in garden harmony. Lacewings, delicate creatures with transparent wings that shimmer like stained glass in sunlight, release larvae that are such voracious hunters they're nicknamed aphid lions, capable of clearing entire colonies of destructive pests while leaving plants untouched. Ground beetles patrol the soil under cover of darkness, their armored bodies moving purposefully through garden debris as they hunt slugs, cutworms, and root-destroying grubs. Their constant movement aerates soil while their hunting keeps pest populations naturally regulated. The Amish garden intentionally welcomes these allies through thoughtful planting. The flowers feed the protectors, an Amish grandmother explained as she showed me the umbel-shaped blooms of dill, fennel, and Queen Anne's lace that attract parasitic wasps so tiny they're barely visible, yet capable of laying eggs inside caterpillars that would otherwise devour crops. Creating habitat becomes as important as growing food. Stone piles offer shelter for ground beetles, perennial plants provide overwintering sites, shallow water sources serve as drinking stations. These elements aren't afterthoughts, but essential infrastructure for a self-regulating garden. Perhaps most profound is the Amish patience in establishing this balance. They understand that beneficial populations build slowly over seasons, not overnight. While chemical gardeners expect immediate results, the Amish gardener watches the gradual strengthening of natural relationships until the garden itself becomes resilient. When we honor the balance, one elder told me, we discover we are not really the gardeners at all. We are simply grateful witnesses to the perfect order that emerges when we step back and allow nature's wisdom to flourish. The Amish garden teaches us that true abundance comes not from dominating nature, but from dancing with it. By embracing these timeless practices, we create gardens that nourish both body and soul while honoring the delicate web of life.